easy question that can get your group some points. What's happening tomorrow?
Workshop. Workshop test.
And she gets her group a point, and there's still one more point available.
And
you can be with them today. They'll take you. They'll enjoy it. And what else is tomorrow besides the workshop test? Truth table test. Andrew, you can have a point. Truth table test. Okay, so let's one thing at a time. Let's talk about the workshop test first. Do you have your old workshops easily handy? God, I would hope so, especially since I told you you can use them on the test tomorrow.
But they're not going to be the same question.
Not the exact same, but some are similar, and one is the exact same. You just got to find it. 10. Okay, so there is a 10-question workshop test tomorrow. You get to use your old workshops. In fact, I want to go through your old workshops and put stars by ones that I think you ought to study, or at least if Caitlin puts a star by it, that's her way of knowing, hey, I probably should find that one tomorrow. Okay, so your first math workshop was from 811. So can you find your 811 math workshop? Okay, once you found it, well, I think you got this anyway, but once you found them, I would study questions like 1 through 10. I know there are 2 questions like number 6 that have a minus sign in between the terms, and there is 1 question like number 7 that has the plus sign. So if I were you, I'd study questions like 1 through 10, especially if you're like, I believe Forrest is like me, and that we make sign errors. So he definitely wants to look over one like number 6 with the minus sign. If you make sign errors, for sure you want to look at number 6. Okay, so there's 3 questions like that. 2 with a minus sign, 1 with a plus sign. Yes, dear.
I don't know if you're supposed to record it or not.
I am. I just froze it. See? It's a good question. Point for that. Okay, that's all from 811 that I would study. The next math workshop sheet you should be able to find has 821 at the top. 821. If you've got your 821 math workshop, I would suggest you study number 9 and 10, part D. Part D on both questions asks you to write the equation in standard form. That's ax plus by equals c. There's a question on the test where you're given an equation and you need to rearrange it to standard form. So 9D and 10D. So that's the 4th question. And then the 5th question on the test is also on this same math workshop. I would study, I put a star by the question about Lauren and Rico, because there's another scenario, and I think they're both named Lauren and Rico too. I don't remember if it's the exact same math, if it's the same names, but it's Lauren and Rico, and you got to decide Lauren's right, Rico's right, and why. So that's the 5th. Okay, and then the 6th question from the test, I would look at your math workshops from 828. 828. I would look at 1 through 5 where you have to FOIL. Someone in first period, because they have the same math workshops as you, someone in first period asked me what FOIL was. Clearly they need to study 1 through 5. There is 1 question involving FOIL. Okay, and then the next question I would study is number 18, but not really. Let me explain. So there's the last question on the math workshop test. It is, like Caitlin said, the math workshop is supposed to be completely new questions. So it's similar to this in that Caitlin needs to use the same thought process, but it's not the same question involving inequalities. It's just the same thought process of it can't be this one, it can't be this one, it has to be this one, sort of thing. So my note to myself said, study number 10, number 18. Yeah, I wrote Q, sort of, kind of similar to 18, but not really. Why can I not just read my own work? Lord Jesus. Okay, and then from your 9-4 math workshop, I would study number 1 and 2 with parent functions. There are 2 questions on the math workshop test where you're given a graph and you've got an idea with the vocab word it should go with. Like, this is a quadratic. This is a linear. This is an absolute value. Okay, and then another Math Workshop question reminds me of number 4 on the same Math Workshop, where it is a graph. You're given a graph, and you have to determine whether or not the graph is a function. What do you use to determine whether or not a graph is a function? The vertical line test. Grant, you had it out first, so you can have a point. We also call it the pencil test. Either's okay, but Caitlin has to say, yes, this is a function by the vertical line test, or no, this is not a function by the vertical line test. She's got to have that phrase, vertical line test or pencil test, in order to get off the points. Okay, and then your next Math Workshop after that was 9/11. And this is actually where we're going to stop. 9/11, there's a question similar to the factoring there, where you got to pull out a GCF. There's a question similar to 7 through 12 where you have to simplify a radical. But beyond that, I'm not going to say you have to look at your other Math Workshops, because the two after this, same format. Factoring questions on top, simplifying radicals next. So if Sarah needs more practice, she can look at those. But honestly, this one has the factoring, this one has the simplifying. She could just let go of the next 2 pages. Yes, Sarah?
You said it was 10 questions, right?
Yes, 10. It's 10 questions long.
Is it possible that we don't have a bonus?
I haven't added one, but I might come up with one and put it on the board. That's not a bad thought. Okay, and then what really sucks is that I stink. Well, I don't stink. I'm lazy, and I'll admit to that much. I'm lazy. And with the Math Workshop test, I kept it the same for algebra 2 with trig and discrete, just to keep my life easier, which is, in fact, going to make your life a little more complicated. So let's look at today's Math Workshop number 11. So I guess when the person who makes the Math Workshop test made the test, they thought we would be done with this entire workshop by then. And we're not. I mean, we just got it today, and like Kaylin pointed out, we never finished last week's. So we're still behind, which is fine. But there is a question similar to this on the Math Workshop test. So, if Forrest sees this, since this is his first day to have to deal with the exponents and the variables, it's okay with me if he crosses them out and just simplifies the radical and says, oh, well, 24 is 4 times 6, so that's 2 squared of 6. That's fine. If he does that, he's going to get, it's 10 questions, so it's 10 points each. He's going to get a 7 out of 10, so he's at a 93. My gosh. I mean a 97. Good grief. Can't math today. He's 3 points short of 100. 97. Now, Forrest wants his 100, as we all do, so I'm going to explain how to deal with those exponents. But again, since we're just now talking about it today, the problem that involves exponents, if you want to cross them out, that's fine with me. Okay, so what we're supposed to do with exponents is we're looking for them to be even or odd. Bless you. If they're even, we just divide by 2 because it's an understood 2 out here. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. So exactly 1x gets to come out. But 3 divided by 2, that doesn't go in pretty because it's not an even number. I know it's 1.5, but we can't bring out a y to the 1.5. That doesn't work. So instead what we do is we back up to 2, and we say, well, y squared divided by 2 is just 1, and then we have this leftover guy that stays inside. So our final answer is actually 2xy square root of 6y. But if you don't understand that, there's an easier way. It takes a little more time, but it's easier to understand. So we could list out x is x squared, y is y cubed. And we could do what I call circle buddies. As long as you have a date, you can go and leave the house. If you can't find a date, you can't leave the house. So the x's had a date, so they left the house. The y's had a date, so they left the house. But this one y didn't have a date, so he had to stay home. That's why he ended up under the house. And that circling system will always work. But Forrest understands when you get to like h to the 11th, no one really wants to write 11 h's and then do all the circling. So it's easier to say h to the 11 is really h to the 10 divided by 2 is 5, and you have 1 left under the house. It's easier that way. Okay, this is the part that's going to make you happy because this is, oh, I cannot. My ADHD will kick in. Because this is the first time we've seen this in this class, you've seen it in your other classes, but the first time we've done this in here, we're going to, because it is Monday, we're going to make it a double points Math Workshop Monday, meaning you can get 2 points for answering the question entirely correct. So are there any volunteers on number 11? Yes, Brittany.
What's number 11?
Square root of m to the 4th.
Okay. Wait, is that what you just did up there?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
M squared?
2 points for your group. 4 divided by 2 is 2. It is m squared. And again, if I wanted to do circle buddies, these two went on a date. These two went on a date. That's why it's m squared.
Okay.
Hey, I got you on 12.
12, go ahead.
Is it d squared and then d?
Yes, it is d squared and the square root of d. Perfect.
Oh.
So you could do the circle buddies. 4, 5. They will always work. 1 pair, 2 pairs, 1 guy left at home. Or back to 5, back up to 4. Do the 4 divided by 2 is 2. I have the 1 left over because it was an odd exponent. 2 points for your group. Number 13. Yes, Andrew.
8 and 30 points for the
Perfect. And again, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 9, we back up to 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then there's 1 left over. Perfect. Or you can do the circle buddies. It'll work too. 2 points for your group, Andrew. 14. Yes, Grant.
Okay.
No, D to the 4th. 8 to the 5th. And then square root of 8.
Okay, what about the J?
And then J to the 6th.
Perfect. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 12 divided by 2 is 6. The only hard one is the H because it was an odd exponent. He backed up to 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. I have 1 left over. That's perfect. Your group gets 2 points. Last but not least, number 15. Number 15, Brittany.
What 15 say?
What? You don't have it?
I got you.
Square root of 18, w to the 13th.
Square root of
18, w to the raised to the 13th power.
okay. Square root of 18 to the W to I don't have it. I don't know. It's probably in my binder somewhere.
We picked it up on the podium.
It's right here. I thought we was doing the last one.
No.
What?
We were skipping to these because there's one like this on the math workshop test.
Okay.
Okay.
So you have 3 and bring back 6, right? No, you don't. You don't. Wait, I'm gonna work this out. I got this.
Oh my God.
Okay. Don't. Hey, I ain't asked for that.
Yeah.
18, 2, 9, 30. Oh. I don't know. Skip me.
I got it.
Really? Please tell me the answer.
So he does square root of 18.
Is it?
Would it be
Is it 6?
Square root 18 is not a perfect square.
Hey, I think Grant's got an answer.
6 squared.
6 is not 6 squared is 36, and that's 18. Yes, dear.
Balls.
Huh?
3 root 2?
It is. Ooh, I'm gonna pretend like I didn't hear that. 3 root 2 is perfect. What about the exponents?
I would find those 5
To the 6.
What else?
W.
Perfect. Your group gets 2 points for that. Okay, so let's back up. So Grant tomorrow on the test, if he wants to ignore the W to 13, he can. If he'll just break up 18, it's really 9 times 2. I know the square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 2 stays underneath the house. That's great. However, so he got the 3 and the 2 by breaking down the 18. However, it's really not that much harder to get the exponents as well. 13 back up to 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. You have a W left over. Woohoo! Are there any questions about this? Then let's look at your book and the worksheet you picked up on the way in. So that's it for the math workshop test. If you have a question about it, come see me tomorrow. Coming in the class is going to be too little too late. You can have out your workshops. If you lost them, I'm so sorry. I'm pretty sure you can handle it without them. We were just going to use them as a comfort. Okay, Caitlin, can you turn to 2.2.1 and hand me yours?
Do that.
I don't know. Bless you. Okay, I want you to do 2 things for me today before your test tomorrow. One of the things is super easy. One of the things is a medium, tops. A medium, tops. Okay, while they're passing out the books, since apparently y'all forgot to get those, scarily enough, question of the day. How many problems How many problems did I say was going to be on the text tomorrow? The text. On the math workshop test, yes. How many did I say were going to be on the truth table test?
20. Oh, wait, 35.
5.
And you can have a point for that, ma'am. I said there were going to be 5, and like a typical woman, you know what I did, right?
You put 6.
I changed my mind. So I put 7, and they're each worth 7 points, so that makes it 49 total, so Misha gets a point for just putting her name. Now, here's why I did that. We talked about having an and on there. We talked about having an or on there. So seriously, there is a problem that says P, Q, P and Q. And I think there is a problem that says P, Q, P and not Q, the way it is up here. I give you 7 and they're all blank. Bless you. So if Sarah doesn't remember the TTFF, TFTF to start off with, she is in so much trouble.
I don't know it because I wasn't here.
Yep. So she's obviously can't take it tomorrow, but she's got to get it together before the end of the week, so then the 9 weeks. So if you don't start off with the TTFF, TFTF, you're already going to make a terrible grade on this. And if you don't know what TTFF, TFTF means, Lord, praying for you. Okay, so let's look at your worksheet, which is a lot harder than that. 2 points if you can tell me why this worksheet is harder than what's going to be on your test tomorrow.
So within the test,
What makes this hard versus the test?
I would say that's the chart.
And you can have the points. Royale. More variables. I use P, Q, and R on this worksheet. On the test, it's only P and Q. 2 variables. Hence the TTFF, TFTF. So if you can fill it in with 3 variables, my God, you can fill it in with 2. So this should be a good confidence booster. There seriously is a column for not Q, meaning have everything the opposite of Q. So Q is on the 3rd line down false. So on the 3rd line down of my not Q, I should put true. There's a P and R, so you can pair P and R with an and. How many have to be true?
On what?
With an and, how many have to be true?
Both of them.
Both of them have to be true on an and. With an or, how many have to be true?
One of them.
1, only 1. So again, with an and, you should have very few truths. With an or, you should have a lot of truths. Okay, if you can, you're going to have to fill out this, and you can fill out the one below. You don't have to answer the question about being a consistent system. You can skip that. We're going to call this your study guide. I'm going to post the key to this later. If Caitlin can do this easily, she's got medium truth tables down. Surely she can do the easy 7 tomorrow. If she has no idea what she's doing on these, would she be able to do the easy 7? I don't know. It's debatable. Okay, so that is one of the 2 things I need from you today. But sadly, that's the second thing. The first thing I need is really, really easy. So this is why you don't get to work ahead, because this activity you would already have done. Okay, so it says Nancy's out on the town. It's on page 15. It's 2.2.1. If your group, because I had one group not finish the negation activity. If your group did not finish 2.1.3, you know you're a little behind already, right? Okay. But 2.2.1, it's about this girl named Nancy, and she goes out, and then all these statements are about all the different places or whatever she could be doing. So P is she's at home, Q is she's at movies, R is the grocery store, S is clothing store, T is clothes, trying on clothes, U is buying food. Okay, if P is true, we'll do number 1 together. P is true, so Nancy is at home. Is Q true or false? So Nancy is at the movie theater. So if Nancy is at home, can Nancy also be at the movie theater?
No.
So I would say false. False, because she can't be at home and at the movie theater. If you're a smarty pants, how could that be true? She's got a home theater. If she's got a theater inside her house because she's a rich person, then that would work. So you could put possibly true, she could have a home theater. The rest of them are also this kind of straightforward. There are only 11. 2 of them are repeaters. I don't know why that happened. But let's be realistic. Let's make sure we're on the same page. I get that she would be buying food at the grocery store. Would it make sense for her to be, for instance, trying on clothes at the movie theater? When were you trying on clothes at the movie theater?
Wait.
Where do you try on clothes at?
You go to the bathroom.
At the movie theater?
Yes, because you might not like what you got on, so you
So you bring spare outfits?
Yeah, you do what you gotta do.
Okay, well, since it does say explain, if Brittany wants to be rebellious and put true, she tried on clothes in the movie theater because I always bring the spare outfit in my purse, that's fine. But me, I would put false. You either try on clothes at home or you try on clothes at the clothing store. Just saying. Okay, and then we need to clarify before I let you go crazy because last period was very specific. Grocery store implies what kind of items? Food. So I'm thinking Publix only. I'm not thinking Walmart. Why am I not thinking Walmart?
Because
Walmart has
go to the next to
Walmart has
they
to
got
be clothes, and then we start getting confused. So for the grocery store, if you would have crossed out and put the word Publix, you can. I mean Publix. I don't mean Walmart, Target, Supercenter. I mean something. They don't have clothes that you can go try on, do they?
No.
I never
no.
said that.
Oh, okay.
Who?
I don't think so. I've wandered Publix all the time. I've never seen services
The
on
one
it.
in Atlanta they do. They have clothes there.
God.
I meant God. I meant Piggly Wiggly, Lucky's, Foodland.
Aldi's.
They're not clothes. Clothes. Specifically, I mean a non-clothing store.
Got clothes.
Oh, Whole Foods.